Danny and Rio, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about you. You guys been married for how long?
In August, it'll be 4 years.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
And children, you guys some kids?
We do. I have a 10-year-old son. He has two kids.
20 and 15.
20 and 15. Yeah. All right, wonderful. Anything else we should know about you?
Blended family.
Yeah, struggles with that.
Our middle son, he has special needs.
Yeah, he has Down syndrome.
Down syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Some challenges.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about just any pinch and pain that you have right now in your marriage. Where when you think about your marriage, where do you struggle? Where does it hurt, or where do things get challenged for you?
I would say we're rebuilding our whole lives together, and doing that later in life, time becomes an issue. You know, she wanted to go back to school for a new career. She has a full-time job, so she's going to school. She has school, and I have a full-time job. I'm really active, so I'm at the gym a lot. Our son is really active in his sports, so allocating our time in a way where everybody, and we're still operating as a family, but everybody is still pursuing their own goals. So putting all that together can be it takes a lot of communication and being on the same page.
And for you, does that result? The feeling is what is frustration sometimes, or pressured, or
I think it's more for me.
Yeah,
I
more
have a
for
lot
her.
of allocating time because, yes, he's the man of the house, but I'm the one who manages our schedules.
I'm terrible with schedules. So
he has no idea what day it is and what we're doing. So for me, I have he calls it my calendar because
it's in both of our phones.
It's in our phones, and it has colors for everything, and I have to put everything in the calendar as it's happening.
Did you look at the calendar? Well,
He'll ask
I'm
me a
asking
question.
you. I'm not asking you.
You're my calendar.
Yeah.
She goes, but I make the calendar for a reason.
So then because I have to think what I'm doing. I'm at work. I have school. I have homework. I got baseball. I can't be. You look at the calendar. It's what I made it for.
And beyond that, she's so supportive. So when I'm training, she will meal prep to make sure that I eat a certain way. So it's a lot of work for her.
And then when I have the kids, when he's at the gym, I have them by myself. So now I have to entertain the kids and still manage and hold down the fort.
It's a lot of work.
a lot of work. Yeah.
So time management I think would be one of our conflicts, and then maybe also conflict resolution, because I'm a fix it now person and he's a leave me alone, we'll fix it later person. So we do that a lot.
Yeah.
Well, we can do this later.
Yes.
Let's have closure now.
Yes.
Let's leave it open.
Yes. I'm the no, I can't. What's wrong with you? Why? And he's like, I don't want to talk right now. I'm going to lose my mind. So we have to find that balance. I struggle with that more than he does.
How about your closeness? Do you find your marriage time gets crowded out here?
Yes
no, well, yeah, yes and no, because we do have the off weekends. So that's a lot of marriages don't have that. So it's beneficial to us that
you have kids every other weekend.
Yes.
We do on the same schedule. So we have every other weekend our date weekends. We get to be by ourselves, and this weekend, for example, our kids are with our exes, and so we get to go to dinner on Saturday night. We can go to church Sunday morning, and we can just relax and have our time. And then the next weekend it's kids, and then we're just everywhere.
So if you could change your marriage in any way, your biggest point of pain would be to somehow reconcile this. I want to fix it now. Let's have closure versus open-endedness.
Yeah.
Are there some other ones too? Is that probably the main one, or?
I can help, and I tease because I know I don't do it because she's so busy. I have to put more effort into help. I'll even joke about it. I'll put her voice as though it's me. And so I'll be doing something and I'll say it as though it's her. And I said, listen, I'm not trying to start an argument or anything, but I work full time. Okay, and I'm not asking you to clean the entire house. If you could help me out every once in a while, it'd be really nice for you to help me. You know what, honey? You're absolutely right. I can. So I tease about it because, I get physically tired, but I gotta put it on the other. Dude, she's been working, going to school,
The other day I came home and he was vacuuming, and I was like, have I ever told you how sexy you are when you have a vacuum in your hand? I just have to say, keep it up.
Because I'm trying to be conscientious of it. You know, I said, well, a friend might be coming over, and I don't want people to think you're lazy, when in fact I'm lazy.
I was like marginally insulted.
And I don't want to make you look bad.
What do you mean I'm lazy?
I don't want to make you look lazy because I'm lazy.
Yeah.
So.
And I was like, I wish people would come over more often.
Yeah. When people come over, the house gets cleaned. And
Oh, yeah.
Right,
Well, because
well-
I'm always. He gets so annoyed because he's
I have a certain way of doing
he's
things.
so set in the way he has to do things. So when we're having dinner, he has to sit down with his food and turn on a movie or a show. Like he starts it. He can't just sit down and eat and have conversation. There has to be something in the background. He has to be watching something. So he has a hard time with me because I don't sit still. And
I want to enjoy it with her. I'm like, let's watch this together.
Time.
And
That's,
she's,
in his mind, that's spending time.
and then I'll put her on pause. They're like, are you done walking around the house? Because I can't eat. She go and eat. I can't eat unless you're over here with me.
I have to just sit there. And I'm thinking in my mind, like my OCD, I don't even have OCD, but I do. And I'm going crazy because I'm like, I got to pick up those plates. I got to put them in the sink. I got to throw the trash away. And
But when I'm done eating, I can just leave the bowl.
He just leaves it.
Well, I'll get it.
Because I'm going to get it.
When I get up, when the show's over, I'll do
No,
it.
but
She
you
wants
won't
to do it right
because I'll
now.
get up in the morning and it's still there. So
he pushes it down the road, but then you
Yes.
pick it up. So
See, and that goes with our conflict resolution.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it right now and he's a do it later.
Yeah.
So we struggle with that because I don't sit still. And he's like, I can never watch anything with you. So he'll text me or we Google chat while we're at work. And he's like, oh, you should watch this new series. And I'm like, you're watching stuff without me? That's our
Like, 'cause
show.
you're walking
He's like,
around the
but you're
house,
always
I'm
watching. I
watch it
can't.
with you.
All right, we got some good things to work
Yeah,
with.
we get some good news. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's transition here, and we're going to talk about the 4 conflict styles, and all of these issues will kind of come back as we do that. So these are 4 conflict styles that predicted divorce, and of course, along with that, marital unhappiness. Huge research study, about 20 years in the making, thousands of couples, and so we can predict divorce with about 94% accuracy. It's pretty huge there. And we want to identify them and then eliminate them or greatly reduce them. So number 1, first one that came up was escalation.
Okay.
So he yells, she yells, she yells, he yells, kaboom, right? So do you guys have escalation?
We have a problem with that because I'm a small person and I get very loud.
Uh-huh.
I feel like he's not hearing me. So I need to be louder because he's not hearing me.
Uh-huh.
But then he had a rough childhood growing up to where his mom yelled and he turns off. So for me, I have to really struggle with him because he is a fix it later. I feel like I'm not being heard. So I get really loud and he calls me an angry leprechaun. He's like, you start jumping around and stuff. And I'm like, I don't, but you're so small and it's cute.
I'm not supposed to
And
be
then-
laughing at her, but
Yeah,
she's
you're supposed to be
angry.
laughing at
And that makes you even more mad.
I'm more mad,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
I get louder. So
Yeah.
I struggle with, I'm the yeller.
Yeah.
He shuts down and shuts off
Mm-hmm.
because it just transports him to childhood. And he's like, you sound like my mother. And then I'm even more mad because I'm
That's-
not
yeah.
your mother.
So transferring to your childhood means you just kind of shut off.
You
That was
totally-
your
yes.
protection.
Yes.
It was just kind of
Totally clams
I
up.
don't like being yelled at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he gets nasty. Then that's when it
Then the
gets,
sarcasm comes.
Right. So I'm the
Sarcasm,
loud,
okay, yeah,
and
yeah.
then he's the more insulting. He
Yeah.
knows how to cut.
Okay. All right. And for you, it's really frustrating because you got to get to a certain volume
Right.
before you get a response from him.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a lot of energy,
Yeah.
and we're concerned about
Oh, and then I
energy.
start bawling, and then, yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
have to find a way to validate her feelings because then at that point, well, okay, obviously you're upset, let's work it out. And it's never mind.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
That's
or
my
whatever.
classic
Yeah,
never
so-
mind. Yeah.
Never mind and whatever are the
My
two
two
words
words.
where
Yeah.
I'm like,
You
Which
know-
make him more mad.
You know you've gone over the line when you hear never mind.
Yes.
Yes.
And it doesn't.
or whatever.
Or whatever. Yeah.
I'm over it.
Yeah, I'm over it. So I want to talk about the second conflict style because we do have an intervention for the first one, but the intervention is the same for both. So the second one just ties right into this, and you're describing it. It's withdrawal. So withdrawal is the Cold War, silent treatment, not talking, cold shoulder.
I close the door,
Mm-hmm.
like physically, and that drives him crazy.
I like open doors. So even if I shut down, it's still,
He can
I
leave
don't
the
like,
room, but he can't close the door. So for me, if I like leave the room and I close the door, he comes storming in there and
Why are we shutting the door?
Yeah.
What happened?
So why does withdrawal come up as one of the 4 best predictors? Actually, let's talk about escalation and then withdrawal. But escalation, what do we know about escalation? Well, the people in the research study thought that if you really provoke somebody really good and then get them really mad, does the truth come out? The people said yes. Research showed dead wrong.
Yeah.
No. We deeply regret what we have to say at the height of our anger. The truth does not come out. So police officers, what's the number one call that they hate going on? It's domestic disputes. Why people are going crazy? They're killing grandma. I mean, and so there's actually research that shows that when you get highly escalated or you're in a trauma state, the left side of your brain shuts off. And is the left side is your cognitive reasoning, being able to think about how if I say this, what's it going to result in down the road?
According to science.
Or I can't create coherent plans for the future. And so I'm really not thinking rationally. I'm really not there. And so what do we hear in marriages? No. I just need to get this off my chest right now. No. I need to blow off some steam right now. And actually, you don't.
Right.
So anger is like the old Sigmund Freud, anger's like a vat. You just need to drain it off.
Right.
Not true. Okay. The more you drain it off, the higher it gets. Right. It's like war. You throw 1 bomb, you throw 3 bombs back,
right.
you throw 30 bombs back.
It
just escalates again and again.
Yeah.
So we're better off to take a break, to bring it down, and then we're going to approach it from a very, very different standpoint. Now, the book of Proverbs, the whole book of James is about the tongue.
Sure.
So the Bible has so much to say about being self-controlled.
What is it that you say whenever we're in an argument and I say something mean?
Which I don't know.
How the heart speaks, that's really what's in your heart. It's really what you feel.
Out of the abundance of the heart, your mouth speaks.
Yes, he says that all the time.
Ooh,
yes.
I'm like,
so when I say something mean, you're such a jerk.
Well, that's how you really feel about
I'm
me?
a jerk? See, you're angry. That's in your heart. You think I'm a jerk. And I'm like, oh, gosh.
Well, you said it.
We're already getting you some more conflict styles already. So now, as a result of today, we don't actually mean what we say. The truth doesn't come out. We deeply regret what we have to say at the height of anger.
Yeah.
So we're better off to kind of zip the lip here.
Okay.
So I got a little homework assignment for you.
It's really hard to do, yeah.
And so I'm going to have you do this from now till we meet again, if you agree to it. And this is good old timeout. Okay. It's not any timeout. It's a 5-minute timeout. So, but timeout, isn't timeout the same thing as withdrawal? No, it's not. It's very, very different. With withdrawal, you look down the road and you think, oh my gosh, was that the last time? Are we ever going to connect again? Yeah. And who's going to do it?
So it's official. It has a time frame.
Right.
Yes, it has a time frame. And when it doesn't have a time frame and it's real ambiguous,
your mind starts going, what does this mean?
Yeah. Exactly. And we start going to catastrophic scenarios.
Worst case scenarios. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And this is what we call divorce talk or divorce thinking. And one of the great ground rules in healthy marriages is no divorce talk. And that includes innuendos of divorce as well too. I'm done. That's it. I'm finished. That's the last straw, right? So that brings the anxiety way up. So what's that?
So he can't say those things anymore.
That's right. We got some new ground. And what you're doing is you're putting a protective wall around your marriage. You're keeping the bad things out. So you'll see like people who hang on a chin-up bar, they might say, I don't believe in letting go. I am never going to. Well, you know what? Eventually you are going to let go because you're going to run out of energy. You're going to run out of the strength that you need. And this is what we have with just really good believing people is I don't believe in divorce, but they haven't protected their marriage. It's going into places of exhaustion over and over and over again, and sometimes for years, and they run out of gas, and it just, all the wheels fall off. It's just, so we have to really pray. So all of these little ground rules that were coming up here, out of the abundance of the heart, no, I'm going to take it, you didn't really mean that, or better yet, I'm going to call a 5-minute timeout. So here's the ground rules for the 5-minute timeout.
Okay.
Whoever calls the 5-minute timeout is going to say, I'd like a 5-minute timeout. Okay. Don't say timeout, Don't say 5 minutes. Don't just walk into the garage. That's withdrawal. All right. Don't
So
really
just say that
It
specific.
makes it more
yeah,
official.
say
Okay.
5 minutes. So now everybody knows. Okay, this is what
It's like a
this
safe
is.
word. Okay.
Right. It is. It is very much a safe word.
Okay.
When you hear 5-minute timeout, your mouth goes closed.
Right, you got to shut it down.
You got to shut it down, and don't do a big brain dump. Blah, 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 5-minute timeout.
Make it dead.
Can I get a 5-year timeout?
Right. So
It's 5 minutes.
It's 5 minutes. It's 5 minutes, right? And so this is the underneath all this research. It's very supportive of the Bible, and you have to have certain character qualities to be successful. For escalation, the spiritual character quality is it's the very last one in the fruit of the Spirit, self-control.
Okay.
It's when your mate says the most outrageous, crazy, unbelievable, untruthful thing in the you can't believe that.
Yeah.
Self-control.
Self-control.
Yeah,
You
right.
just you
No
don't
retaliation,
respond. 5-minute
yeah.
timeout. Okay, you just zip the lip. Zip the lip. You don't have to mentally fence and get them to think right for
Yeah.
once in their life, right?
Yeah.
This kind of thing. So you're going to say 5-minute timeout. Whoever calls the timeout is going to be the timekeeper. You're going to watch the watch.
Okay.
It's your job to watch when the 5 minutes is up, and it's your job to reinitiate contact. So if you
Okay.
call the 5-minute timeout, you come back and say, "Hey, Danny, the 5 minutes is up."
Yeah.
At that point, you can call a 5-minute timeout, or you can call another
Okay.
5-minute timeout, and
Okay.
you might call 3 or 4 or 5, whatever. But at the end of it, you can do several things. Just about anything other than escalate. You can put the topic on hold for an hour. You can put it on hold for 24 hours. You could do some speaker listener, which we'll do a little bit later on down the line here. You might save it for the weekend because you have your weekends
Right.
together. If you're in counseling,
Yeah.
you'd save it for counseling, those kinds of things. And so often, these little things on the surface, how to squeeze the toothpaste, all this kind of stuff, really has deep symbolic meaning. And so we want to know what that meaning is there and not just argue about the
Yeah.
thing so we become really good communicators. So that's your homework. Are you guys good for calling 5-minute timeouts?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a
that's
good
really
starting
good.
point.
When we
Yeah,
had
good
done our
job.
premarital counseling, there was one of our conflict resolutions was to do remember the writing.
Yeah.
We would have to. There was a book, one book, and we would have to write how we feel or how because if we're not being heard. So having to read it really makes you have to really understand it and chew on it for a little bit, rather than just going back and forth. He always says you're not listening to hear me. You're listening to respond.
Right.
You're
You're
not
not
actually
listening
hearing what
to
I'm
me.
saying.
Yes.
You're already coming back with comebacks. and
Yes.
firing
So
off.
not listening. I see your lips moving, but man,
Yeah.
I am.
I'm waiting for my turn to talk.
Yes, and he says that I do that a lot. So having that book had helped us because we both had separate books, and then we would swap them, and he'd go and I'd read his, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even hear him say that.
Ah.
And then he would be like, I didn't hear you say that. And so we would have to talk about it afterwards, and it kind of helped us find a little bit of a balance because we had done counseling even in the middle of our marriage because we had hit a really rough spot before too, but we stopped doing that book at
So
that point.
that is you're tapping on the power of understanding.
Yeah.
And it's really amazing. The research on understanding is that about 70 to 80% of your marriage problems, that would be 3/4 of your marriage problems, are gone, eliminated off the map when the two of you understand each other.
Right.
And in our culture, it's really hard for us to get a handle on this
Yeah.
because we're a fix-it. I don't need to hear I already have the solution,
Yes.
right? And that is a real problem for our culture, for us Americans.
Huge, because he's a super fix-it person. And we had
Man by nature, I like.
he's like, just tell me what I gotta fix it. Like,
What is it
I'm
that
not
it is,
asking
and
for you to
I'll
fix anything. I just want
We'll
you to hear
figure
me.
it out. And she
Yeah.
wants to be heard.
Yeah, just hear me.
And when we take that principle of understanding, we think about the life of Jesus, and in Hebrews chapter 4, it says we have a high priest who's been tempted in every way yet without sin.
Absolutely.
He's walked among us,
Yeah.
and therefore we can boldly come before the throne of
Right.
grace. We can come together
Yes.
because he understands
Right.
us. So here's a spiritual challenge. God says to you, I went to great lengths to understand. I sent my son.
Yeah.
He died for you.
Yeah.
He had to learn how to walk and eat and then died on a cross. Now I'd like for you to go to great lengths to understand
Each other.
your mate.
Okay.
be like him.
Be like Jesus,
Right.
and really go to great lengths to
in
get
the
into their
biggest way,
shoes and figure out what it's like to be them,
Yeah.
to see them. So,
That's really good.
so before we get to, we'll get back to that in a second, but before we get too far away, if your mate does not honor your timeout, you may go to a different room.
Okay.
If they go
Do
to,
they get to shut the door?
yes,
Stop
oh,
it. Stop
Woo,
it. That's
bingo.
gonna be a button, a hot button, right?
Escalate 5 minutes timeout.
I know.
Already. And
Wait, 5 minutes? No.
so I was just telling you the rules. So I think we probably talk about
So
that.
on the 5-minute timeout, we have to stay in the same room?
No,
No.
you don't have to stay in the same room.
Okay.
And but if you have a real escalation time and they follow you into the room, you can go to a room and lock the door. If they're pounding on the door, you can leave the house. You call in 20 minutes.
Oh,
Hey,
no.
you didn't honor my timeout.
No.
You're right, I did.
But that's communicating.
Yeah, that's
you didn't
right.
honor my timeout, and that's why. See,
You can't leave the house.
Yes,
Yeah.
I cannot leave the house.
Yes. So you wouldn't like that. So you're not gonna escalate it that far. But just for anybody, listen. This is kind of how the rules.
Yeah,
are.
those are good rules.
And so you come home, you say, hey, 5-minute timeout after the 20 minutes, and then you pick it up and you take it from there. So
No, like he literally cannot leave the house. Like I will get in my car and I will follow you. You're gonna come back to the house. You can go to the couch, to the garage, outside. You're not leaving the house.
But if
Crazy.
you honor the timeout, then nobody has to leave the house.
Right.
yes, you're on a
good.
timeout.
We're good.
Can't leave the house.
All right, so I have a little handout for you, and so that's going to be your homework.
I like
Okay.
it.
You may also call practice timeouts,
Okay.
and a practice timeout is I'd like a 5-minute practice timeout, and the other person nods their head because you're not supposed to say anything. You come back in 5 minutes, say, the 5 minutes is up, and the other person says, thanks for doing the homework. That's it.
Okay.
You're just kind of muscle memory, just
Okay.
working it through and practicing it.
Yeah, putting it into practice.
Yeah.
I think I'll probably struggle with it more because you are a save it for later person. So for me, he's gonna say it, and I'm like, what? Oh, I have so much to say to you.
Yeah.
So I'll probably struggle more than he will.
All right.
I
Good.
should keep a tally of how many times I fail. The 5-minute timeout.
You're gonna do great.
All right. Ready?
All right, so we're talking about the 5-minute timeout, getting rid of escalation and how destructive that can be. But we also want to apply the 5-minute timeout to withdrawal. So what about withdrawal? Why is withdrawal so destructive, and why does it come up as one of the 4 best predictors of divorce? What's so deadly about it? The reason it is because the great expectation of marriage is that we have a deep emotional relationship.
Right.
I call it the emotional bridge. The Bible calls it oneness, right? So it's this deep. It's different than any other relationship. We have children who say, "Gee, you were really there for me, Dad. You were really there for me,
Yeah.
Mom." What does that mean? There for me. You understood my emotions. You understood my feelings,
Yeah.
and you really got me, and you were there for me. So when we bring withdrawal along into marriage, it is an utter break. It's an utter severing of that emotional bridge.
Okay.
We really don't get the thing that we want. This was supposed to be our safe harbor, our haven, and now it's a wasteland. I don't know when we're ever going to connect again.
Yeah.
So it's that ambiguity, that not knowing of how we're going to connect, when we're going to connect, that is so problematic. So using a 5-minute timeout for withdrawal can be really, really helpful. So when you perceive right or wrong, it doesn't have to be, this is not judged in a court of law, this is just how you feel inside.
Yeah.
If you're feeling disconnected, or you're feeling like, hey, there's a big distance here, I'd like for you guys also to use the 5-minute timeout. And what would that sound like? You might say, hey, Danny, or Danny would say, hey, Rio, I'd like a 5-minute timeout. And they're not going to say anything because everything goes
Not
quiet
supposed
after that,
to.
but they're going to be thinking, well, wait a minute. We weren't even talking,
Right.
and they call a 5-minute timeout. I mean, what's up with that? Oh, it's withdrawal. They're probably
Yeah.
thinking withdrawal.
Yeah.
They want to connect. So
Okay.
now you have 5 minutes to really think and get centered and pray and say, okay, my mate probably is experiencing withdrawal. They want to have some kind of connection, and you prepare your heart for that.
I really like that because there's times where I get really needy, and so that would be good for me, because there's times I'm a touchy-feely is my love language. I need this. I need for him to give me a kiss when he comes home, and he's a words of affirmation person. So for me, having that 5-minute timeout would be good for me to kind of throw him a flag like, hey, she's feeling needy, give her 5 minutes. You know, like that's.
And
I
for
like that.
this marriage, you're thinking, after the 5 minutes, I need to go touch her.
Yeah.
Right.
And I need to put my
Yeah.
arms around her. I need
Yeah.
I really need to give her that physical touch and that embrace.
Without even having to say it, that's a good.
Yeah.
So she comes to you and she says, "Hey, Danny, the 5 minutes is up." And you go, "Come here, dear. Come here." Well, she's loving it already. She's already
I'm
loving
already
it.
excited. I need 5 minutes time out right now. Just kidding.
So yeah, you just put your arms around her and love her and embrace her and I love you so much.
Yeah.
Something you said in these steps, and in there was prayer, and I think it gets glossed over too much. Taking time to think about it, or positive thoughts. Positive thoughts aren't enough sometimes. Like the power, I think that prayer is a bigger part of it than I think some people realize.
Yeah.
Like,
Because
we'll work it out.
a lot of times we talk about
Yeah.
emotional intimacy, but we also want to have spiritual intimacy.
Right.
There's there's
Right.
financial intimacy, there's parenting intimacy.
Yeah.
But since you brought it up, how's your spiritual intimacy? Do you guys pray together? Do you?
Praying together. I think it initially we didn't. We would pray separately, and I think I'm more outwardly
Right.
spiritual that way, to where like I have no shame in raising my hands at church. I will pray out loud, and I'm more let's pray about it, and he's more like introvert, like he wants to pray.
I
on his
will go
own,
to my
and
prayer
he-
closet and
Right.
I will pray for this house.
Yes.
But
So
she's
he
like,
does it
no,
more quiet. I'm
or
like, let's
she'll
get
say,
together.
go pray with
Yeah.
Logan
Yes.
because he's really struggling.
And he's like,
with
you go
this."
pray with him. And because I'm more of the outward, I can pray for anybody at any time. Like Pastor Sherry does.
Yeah.
You know, she walks around praying for people all the time. I am totally that way. I could do that.
Yeah.
And he's more of the, okay, I'll pray for them tonight.
But
by
different.
myself.
But we also have different. That's her gift. I do my DNA journal every day.
Yeah.
So when we text at work, I'm giving
He
her.
sends me scripture.
I'm sending her.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And
he
I'm
sends me
telling her
scripture.
this, like, look how
Look at this
mind
one.
blowing this
Right.
scripture is.
And then we'll talk about it, my interpretation, because everybody has their own interpretations of scripture. So I'll give him how I perceived it, and he'll give me his spin on it. And then we'll go back and forth on it, which is fun because we get to, I didn't even look at it that way.
So I'm a Bible reader.
So-
This
Yeah.
for me. That's my.
Yeah.
I like doing that, and I like teaching. Like we're doing the 52 weeks, but
Yeah.
and I'm doing it with my
our
little one.
younger one, yeah.
So he's getting that.
So you praying together is one aspect of it, but also what I'm hearing is you read scripture
Mhm.
and you share your life, your spiritual life
Right.
with your mate. Hey, this
Yeah.
is what this means to me. This is how I'm applying it
And
to
it
my
wasn't
life.
always that way. It's only been like a couple of years that we've been doing that together. We've always done it separately. Okay, did you do your DNA? Yes, I did. Okay, did you do yours? Okay, yes, I did. And then that was it. And then just I would send him. I get Greg Laurie emails, daily devotionals, and I'll send them to him sometimes. I was like, oh, this is a juicy one. Read this one.
Some people don't know what DNA is.
Oh.
Oh, it's the it's a grow, or now what they call it, the grow journal,
Uh-huh.
where it's a journal where you're reading, you go through the Bible,
It gives
the
you
Old
scripture
Testament
every
and New
day.
Testament. You can go through either one in the year, and you read that chapter, and you just whatever God speaks
You
to you,
apply it to
you
your
pull
life.
that out and you just write about it.
You pick what you read, and then how you're going to apply it to your everyday, and you get a new scripture every single day.
Nice. Good.
And I love
All
doing
right,
that.
so that's good. Some good spiritual intimacy as well.
I love to pray together.
Uh-huh.
Like I really find it's more of like a connecting thing. There's like times where I'm just like, okay, let's like, I feel really connected when we do pray together. Personally, for him, he gets a little uncomfortable, but
All right, we're listening very carefully.
Right.
Yeah, she likes that. That's wonderful. That's
Yeah.
great. You guys want to say something about counseling. You guys have used counseling, marriage
we
counseling.
did. Yeah, we used counseling 2
The
years ago.
premarital counseling here at the
Premarital?
church,
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yes.
Yeah.
which was great. They gave us
Yes, it was Dick and
a
Janine.
lot of
That
good
was
tools
amazing.
and resources.
Yeah.
Counseling
We learned
for everybody. not-
love languages. We learned conflict resolution.
Uh-huh.
But about 2 years ago, we went to a Christian counselor because that was important to us to have, the spirituality so centered with God. Because there's other counselors out there that are like, oh yeah, you guys are done, finished, just separate.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's not what I was
Yeah,
looking
that's
for.
not an option.
Because we were pretty deep to where he had even left the house for a week,
Mm.
and it was really ugly.
Yeah.
And most counselors would be like, okay, yeah, the marriage is over. But she was very helpful and insightful in learning how, like you said, understanding each other. We didn't understand each other. I wasn't having. He had no idea. He thought everything was fine. So when I told him, like, I think we're done. Like, we're done. And he was like, wait, what do you mean we're done? Like, who are you? Like, no, we're fine.
Yeah,
He had
so
no
there
idea.
was some major divorce talk. And there was
Yeah.
some major withdrawal with you leaving the house
Yes.
for a week.
Yeah.
So man, it was feeling thin ice.
It was
Your marriage
very
was
thin.
feeling real
It was really
shaky.
scary. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really scary.
Very scary.
Yeah.
But there's nothing, you know, some people will feel that the counseling, like, shouldn't just reading your Bible and going to church, like, why isn't that not working?
Yeah.
And some people, you know, outside the church go, see, it doesn't work. It's not true.
Yeah.
But you need Christian counseling.
Mm-hmm.
You need good counsel, you know.
I mean, sometimes you just need
Someone,
that extra
you know,
help.
Yeah, someone.
That's the, you know, you're not going to go to the counsel of the ungodly. And thankfully for me, I have really good friends.
Yeah.
And so I was with friends that have a good
That
marriage.
were more like, stick it out. She's good for you. Stay with her. Don't bail. It's not worth it. They were, yeah, he
Real good
stayed at a
friends.
really good,
Right.
yeah.
And you look back now and you say, oh, I'm so glad I did.
Yeah.
Right, you know.
I'm thankful that he did, because he could have went somewhere else and they would have been like, yeah, forget her. Live here.
So one of the things you guys are talking about right now is really the whole aspect of commitment.
Yeah.
And a lot of research done on commitment. Of course, the Bible's big on commitment. And you'll find couples that have massive problems. Yeah, I mean, you're peeling off the ceiling with a spatula, you know. They have very, very high commitment, and they make it, and their marriages turn out good. You have other couples that have very, very few problems, but they have very low commitment, and the marriage ends.
I think we came out of that even better. Going through that low, like, there are seasons and valleys in every relationship, not just marriage, but going through that lowest part in our relationship made us at our peak right now. We are more together now than we were then.
How so? Is it gratitude? You saw you could have lost it, or how bad it was, and then how good it is, or what about the low made it so good now? What do you think?
For me personally, I thought that, especially this local body, the church that we go to, we're given so many tools. And so I find if you really are under your leadership and you're really applying and taking the teachings, I can sound like Pastor Bob, you know, because
Yeah.
you're learning, and it's all about applying the tools and the things that you're given. And, you know, one of the first things I learned here was that God's ways are always better, which you knew your whole life, but
Sure.
it's really taught here.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of personal responsibility. So in what areas am I not letting God's ways be better? So for me, I kind of went home and she's like, "What? Well, you can be upset, but I'm not leaving, because this is where I'm called to
Yeah.
be."
So there's commitment, and then there's personal responsibility. You got out of blame. It's all her, and you said,
Where am I not doing things God's ways?
Yeah.
And that's, if I clean those areas up,
Yeah. And if
He's gonna bless
if
that.
you didn't have that and you fell into blame,
right?
oh, that would have been disastrous.
I mean, we had even gotten engaged. We've been together for 7 years. So when we had first gotten engaged, we were both married before. So for him, it was more of just to shut me up, in a sense, because he was honest with me. And the reason why he decided to actually get married was coming here. He heard Pastor Sherry give a message. And he said, I proposed to you with the intent of never marrying you. But so I gave him an ultimatum. I said, we've been engaged for 2 years, and if we don't get married in this next year, I'm going to leave. I'm not going to play house. We have kids. We can't do this. This is not where we're supposed to be. I am a woman of God, and I'm not living that way. And so for him, he heard that message from Pastor Sherry, and he came. We went home that day, and he set a wedding date, like, immediately. And I was like, all right, we're going to get married. But I think that whole, for me, the peak is better now, because I wasn't getting from him, like he said, the accountability of how he should be loving me or how he should be, like, you're supposed to love me as you love God. You're supposed to treat your wife better. And I wasn't feeling like I was appreciated. I felt like I was ignored. I felt like I was just some maidservant around the house just catering to him. He can do whatever he wants. And I got tired of it. I got tired of it really fast.
And not marry you.
Yes. Yeah. And so
I felt during our tension that I already had a failed marriage, and if you're going to be honest and you're going to be a mature Christian about it, those failures came from not doing things God's way.
Yeah.
And that's why they failed. Yeah. So if you want to keep this cycle going on in your life, what is the root of the problem?
It's a lifestyle change. We both had to change things in our lifestyle, because then when you keep having problems with people that you're in a relationship with, it's not them most times. You got to look at yourself at some point. Right. You can't always be other people. So for him, it was like a ding. Oh, if I keep doing this,
I was
she's
like,
gone
God
too.
Hasn't called me to be divorced twice.
Yeah.
I know He hasn't.
Yeah.
So if He hasn't, and He gave me this great chance again, then it's something I'm doing.
Because it was like this big conflict, because he would tell me, God finally answered my prayers and gave me the woman that I've wanted my whole life and another son, and then here I am ruining it.
Right.
But the hesitancy to get married was I don't want another failure. I don't want
that. Yes, it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was all based on fear.
I'm going to do it again.
It was on fear that I am going to fail again.
Yeah.
And so you heard God really say to you, if you do it my way.
Pastor Sherry said,
okay.
There is she gives us a blessing before we leave. She said, there's somebody here today that God wants you to know that you're going to miss out if you don't step out on what God has planned for you.
And it was so powerful. It just like resonated.
Yeah, it hit me
it was
right in my
you could
spirit.
feel the sonic boom. It was like,
and it's like,
and I was like,
love casts out all fear. All these scriptures, so that's God, the Lord talking to you, that you're letting fear, get in the way of what God has planned for you. So I said, okay, it's me.
It's me. It's a personal responsibility, and I've got to take a step of faith.
I think it's one of our balancing acts too with our relationship. I am, what do you call it? Like the dumb optimist. Like
her optimism,
so
sometimes
annoyed.
I'm like, this silver lining is killing me right now. Can you just allow me to be bummed out?
Our house could burn down. We'd be like, look, honey, we're alive. Like, we're good. It's okay. We can buy a house. And
I don't want to hear that right now. I need to vent. Let me be negative for like 5 minutes.
So for him to have that realization, it was like a good balance. I was like, oh, I'm rubbing off on him. Let me give you some more of that.
So for you, the lows made it high right now because
I just felt like we really I got to be honest and let him know, and have a third person, not just him hearing it from me, because he already has his preconceived notion of what he's already thinking that I'm crazy or that it's just me and he's doing everything he's supposed to. But telling how we feel to a third person and having them validate my feelings or validate how he feels to me really helped, because you can't get mad at each other, because now you have a third person who's on the outside telling you, no wonder she feels that way, or no wonder he feels that way, because this is what you're doing.
And what you got there was wisdom, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
It's a huge insight to like, okay, so he had no idea that I felt that way. I was able to be open and transparent, no matter how much it hurt or tore us like inside to hear that about each other. Because he said things to me that I was just like, I would die. But it was awakening at the same time, because I was able to really understand who he is. Like, that's where we found out about, when I yell, it puts him in his childhood. Like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
It
was a trigger. It was a trigger for his early...
And it really makes you want to be better, because the love you have for that person and the love you have for God, like, you just want to be better.
And she have abandonment issues as a child, raised by her grandparents, not her biological parents. And so, and as a self-defense mechanism, whenever she feels that a spouse has said, okay, I don't want you, she'll shut it. Fine.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm not I'm not gonna
I've
allow
had people
myself.
leave my whole
I've
life.
had people leave my whole
Yeah.
life, so I'm not
Right.
gonna. Fine, it is over there.
And that's why I would tell him, you can't leave. Like, that's, if you leave, don't come back.
So in the end, I said that what I will promise you, above everything else, that I will never abandon you.
Yeah.
And that was when she was like,
Oh, you make me cry.
he got it. He understands me. That's what I can promise you.
Yeah.
I can promise you that I won't abandon you. And it was just, you know, the Lord speaking here. And that, to answer your question, why this time was better for me personally, all those fears, because when it's first happening, what does your flesh start telling you? This is why you shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
This is where we didn't want to be.
Right.
This is what, and so when God can pull you through all that, he just took you to you're way more mature. He brought you out of something that was your biggest fear, and it hit to where you thought oh man, this is why I didn't want to do it. But then when he brings you out of the other side, you're like, man, I'm never going to have to deal with that again.
It just felt like we were more married then. Like, we got married before, and we went through the motions, you know, you get engaged, you get married, and that's just what you're supposed to do at that point, you know, because, yeah.
We're doing the right thing.
Right.
You know?
This is what God says we're supposed to do, but at that moment, like, we're married.
Let's try on one of the great marital disciplines. I train couples in the marital disciplines. We know what spiritual disciplines are, or academic or athletic disciplines, but there are spiritual disciplines that we do as married people on purpose, intentionally, to feed and nurture the marriage and put money in the marriage bank to create that margin. So one of the ones that I've seen over the years, and you're reminding me of it right now, Danny, is what married women call wedding vow stuff. I would call it improvisations on a wedding vow, but they call it wedding vow stuff. So, all right, that's what it is. So this is where a husband turns to his wife and basically says his wedding vow, just kind of impromptu, just kind of make it. And so she almost cried. She might cry for real right now.
Don't do it.
But
Okay, look at you. Go ahead.
But this is where you say to Rio, I love you. You're the love of my life. There is no one else more important in this world than you are. Good times, bad times, sickness and health.
That's some good stuff.
Yeah, all
I don't
of
get that every day. Come on, let me hear it.
So I'm wondering if you would turn to her and give her some of your wedding
Should we
vows,
hold
some of
hands like we
your
do when we get
promise.
married?
Yeah.
Are you going to cry again?
Probably.
Uh-huh.
I cry for everything, you know that?
Yeah.
Well, what I really, not to make it all overly spiritual, but what, and I didn't know what John was going to have the vows to be, but even in our biggest low, it was the vows were a reminder, because what John had me repeat was, I know that in my own strengths, like, I'm so weak. John started them with, and by the power of the Holy Spirit, I will. And those were my vows.
Woo! Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's what was always a reminder where it starts. Like, I think that put like a whole new perspective.
Yeah.
Because I know in a lot of my areas, I myself will be weak,
As a
and I'm
human,
gonna fail.
All right.
But
You want to start it
Yeah.
that way? That's a good way to start it.
yeah, but the power of the Holy Spirit, I'm going to continue to love you till death do we part, to honor, to cherish, and obey, and to love you as Christ loved the church.
Thanks, babe.
I will never stop loving you.
Never.
Kiss, I'll kill you.
I will never leave you,
I will never abandon you.
Yeah.
ever.
Never ever.
The only thing that'll ever take us apart
Is death.
is
Yeah,
death.
it's inked in our skin, so you kind of can't do that.
Good.
I'm so in depth in that promise that I made us get matching tattoos,
That say
and they
till
say
death.
till death on them. So,
Wow.
I'm serious.
We both have one.
We're in the same spot, same arm. So
Wow.
yeah, we're serious.
On your arm?
yeah, on his
No,
arm
it's on
too.
the
Right?
same.
We both have it in the same spot.
Says till death.
Oh, yes, I see it. Till death. Okay.
I'm serious.
Well, look at that. Your wedding vow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. All right, so a second piece of homework for you then. So I'd love for you to give her some wedding vow stuff. I don't know, maybe many days, most days until we meet again. Are you good for that?
That's good. Can you do that?
Yeah.
I'd love to receive it.
All right, that's great. Good.
Do I have to do it too?
Would you like that?
I do it all the time.
Yeah.
He calls it homework moments.
Uh-huh.
He does, because we'll be like randomly driving
I
somewhere.
really appreciate that you've done this, and well, because she knows I need that, but then it feels weird because it's sound
So it's a little mechanical.
right, but it is because
But
I am words.
But I'm not. I'm
Affirmation.
so genuine with it. Like, we'll be driving and I'm like, I'm so happy to be your wife. Like, I really love my husband.
Uh-huh.
You're so good to me. And he's like, okay, stop.
So a lot of times men like appreciation and respect. Would it help if she was more along the lines of appreciation? Thank you for working hard and providing for us and all
Yes,
that?
she does that,
I
but
do
yeah,
do
I
that.
do like that.
I do.
So
do
maybe
that.
your next step is just to allow yourself to receive it
Right.
and let it be your new normal. You know, when we learn new things in marriage, people say, "Oh, this is weird. This feels weird." Well, that's what a teenager says when they first drive a car. This is,
Right.
well, of course, it feels weird to drive a car. You've never driven a car before, right? So it takes a while we kind of, this is the essence of all great art and music. You're a musician yourself. So you install it to the left brain, it's kind of rudimentary, and then it comes out kind of naturally through the right brain. So practice helps. So yeah.
So just receive it.
I will.
All right. So receive it, and yeah. So you'll give her some wedding vow stuff, and she'll give you some appreciation.
Got it.
Deal.
Yeah. All right. So good. I'll say one more thing about appreciation. A lot of times, for men, reach midlife, and what age is midlife? Well, it all depends. So, but midlife for a man is when they start thinking about how many years they have left, rather than how old they are from birth. So, like a young man will say, "Oh, I'm 19 years old," or "I'm 22 years old." That's from birth to now. That's my age. But a man who's reached midlife will
I
say,
got this many
"I'm
years
probably-"
left on the clock.
What's that?
I got this many years left. What am I going to do with it?
What am I going to do with it? And also at that time, I'm getting older. My strength is not what it used to be. It's more challenging to keep it. I'm losing some. Does
Everything
anybody
hurts.
notice this?
Right.
And the kids don't notice because they're kids. But does my wife notice it at least? And so sometimes I'll have a wife say, "Thank you for using your life. You're using your life. You're burning it up like a candle."
Mm-hmm.
And you're using your most precious commodity, your life, to provide for us
Yeah.
the wonderful lifestyle that we have. Where would we be without you? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there's times where I find myself having to do that, or wanting to do that, not even just having to for him, because he does commute so far to go to work.
Yes.
And he hates driving anywhere. So
But we live where she wants to live. She's happy there.
I grew up in Chino, so
Your
that's my
sacrifice.
hometown.
Mhm.
And so that's my heart is there. And he says, I'll do it for us, just because it makes you happy and it's fine. But he would come home and be in the worst, most sour mood because it takes him an hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes to get home from work. And it's in traffic and he's miserable. And so there was times where, like, I'll do it more often now. Thank you so much for driving to work today, babe. Like, you really are killing it. And when he does, like, good sales and stuff, I'm, like, his biggest cheerleader. With anything that he does, music, jiu-jitsu, life things, like, I find myself...
So I'm going to have you add one more thing
Okay.
from now till we meet again, and that
Okay.
is thank you for using up your life
Using up your life.
mhm,
Okay.
to provide for us the wonderful lifestyle that we have.
Thanks for paying
Where
me
would we
back.
be without you?
No, really, though.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That would
that
work
sounds
with
good.
No,
your-
because you're understanding where ladies come from.
Exactly.
That's the way we think.
That's the way
And that
we
also
think.
goes with your affirmation,
Yes.
that you need that.
Yeah.
That's-
So does
yeah, that's
anybody
good.
notice? And you're saying, yes, I notice,
Of
and I
course.
appreciate it. And
Yeah.
it makes a difference. Your sacrifice makes
You're a
real
day
difference.
older, and it's to our benefit.
Wow,
Totally.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
You're a day older to our benefit. Wow.
Yeah. I had reached out to two of our lead pastors here at the cause, and because I didn't know what else to do. I had been praying and praying and praying. Just fix me, change my heart. It's heavy on me. Be heavy on his heart. Do something to fix this. And I didn't want our marriage to be over.
And
And
how far into the marriage were you? You were married how?
Oh, halfway point.
So
a year. We were married
year,
for
year
about a
and a
year and a
half.
half. About
Yeah.
a year and a half.
Yeah.
This is 2 years ago that this had all happened. And so, yeah, we're about a year and a half in, but we'd already been together for 3 years before that. So I was just at my breaking point, and he had moved out, He had packed his stuff. He was never coming back. We're separating accounts already, and this is all happening in 4 days. And I just was like, okay, how can we fix this?
You were devastated.
I was scared because we live in a house that I can't afford by myself, and we have kids, and oh my gosh, like this is gonna be our second divorce. Like, who does this? So I had
Lots
reached
of
out.
people. That's the problem.
Right.
That's the problem.
Right, because
We didn't want to.
people always say, "Oh, it's easier just to split up," and yeah, sure, we can, and then just move on with our lives. But it's not going to fix anything.
Yeah, we're
I'm still
gonna
gonna be
both
who
of
I
us will be
am.
having this problem.
We're still going to be who we are.
Somewhere down the road.
Going to get resolved, and I didn't want to be in it to be over because I was immensely in love with him. Still, I didn't like him. I really didn't like him. He really hurt me, but I loved him. And I'm like, oh, crap! Like, why do I gotta love this guy? So I reached out to our pastors and I said, I need help. I need help. He's broken. Fix him. Fix me. Call somebody. Bring in the troops. Something needs to happen. He doesn't know that I'm contacting you. He might freak out if he finds out because he's so private. And so they had contacted him and he answered his phone.
Wow. For me, even beyond all that, tell you I like to read my Bible a lot. So
Yeah.
and I'm raised in the church, and there's just certain things that are foundations for me. And for one of the biggest ones for me is leadership and the people that God has over you. And and again, this is whether you're going to use your resources or you're not. But I have leadership. My pastors happen to be younger than me, but that's who's God's placed over me. And they suggested, this is what you need to do. And so if you do it, that's probably going to work out. But
I had mentioned
it's all
counseling
about.
before.
Yeah, I wasn't
And
going
he
to
was
listen
like,
to
we're
her.
not
I was going to listen to a
counseling.
pastor.
There's nothing
but
wrong with
it's-
this. Like, we're fine. And I kept trying to, before it even got to that.
It took humility.
Yes.
You had to follow direction. Whatever they were telling you to do was probably better
And
than
I
what you
will,
were doing.
and I will, and
Yeah.
that's how I am under leadership. Not everybody's that way, but it does work. There was some hindrances for me,
It saved your marriage.
but I was in a safer place here because I really got to know my pastors, and I have been in leadership roles before where in my first marriage I didn't want to go to counseling and I didn't want to go to leadership because in that particular local body there was a lot of gossip, even amongst the leaders. And in this place, I didn't, and I'm just fortunate that in this place I didn't have that, and I didn't have that uncomfortable feeling. So when it was suggested by my leadership, I was really trusting to them. Said,
At first you were a little apprehensive. He more said he would do counseling, so then he would know that he did all he could do.
right.
So then if we split up,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be his fault.
Yeah.
Initially,
but
that
I was
the
gonna
reason for
go.
going.
I was, and
Yeah.
and at first I'm like, what happens is they pick a side,
Right.
and they're gonna tell one person they're wrong,
Yeah.
and the other, you're just. But I'm gonna go.
Right. And then we go and it's just big like aha moments throughout, and it was like, oh, this is why they told us to go, especially to a Christian counselor.
Yeah. Saved your marriage.
Definitely,
Exactly.
definitely.
Oh.
And it
Awesome.
wasn't something of weakness or,
But even in a moment of weakness, it was our human weakness. We needed that extra.
But I'm saying some people won't do it
Right.
because they'll say, that's pathetic. I don't
gotta
need
set
a
your pride
third.
aside.
Are we that weak that we have to go to a third party? And
Yeah.
then you make all these reasons like, oh, we don't need that. We could just go to church and get our lives together and everything will be fine.
And yet,
Doesn't
the
always
most
work.
successful people in the world constantly seek counsel.
Yes.
Right.
They're paying for it. They're getting coaches. They're
In
getting
any
counselors.
aspect of your life,
Yeah.
if you're looking to
Yeah.
be financial gains,
Yeah.
you're not going to go hang out with people who are broke and in debt, or you're going to
or even just isolate.
anything.
Right.
You're not going to get it. So
Yeah.
reaching out for help and
Marital advice. You don't
Godly
go to the guy
counsel
who's been
is the
married
big-
15
Yeah,
times,
I
to the
think
single
that's
people.
the biggest part of it. Godly counsel.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Wonderful. Well, let's go ahead and transition back to our conflict styles, and we talked about escalation,
Mhm.
talked about withdrawal. Now we want to talk about invalidation
Okay.
and criticism. They're kind of both together, coupled together here. So if you have a little coupon and it has an expiration date on it, and that date has come and gone, we say the coupon is no longer valid,
Right.
and we throw it away. So it's
Right.
the feeling of not having worth and having value. So, and particularly with our feelings and with our opinions, right? So invalidation sometimes goes, are you serious? Are you bringing this up again? Do you know how long ago that was? Really? Are you gonna
He calls it holstering.
holstering?
Like you've had that thing holstered
He does it.
right
He calls it
here, and you've been
holstering.
waiting to use it, and now it's out. You holstered
He
that.
does. That's our term. You were holstering that,
You
weren't
holstering
you?
that for like a
Yeah.
month.
He does. He calls it holstering.
Yeah.
That's
So that would be a good example of invalidation. And validation is, of course, the opposite of it. And that might say something like, wow, that's coming up again. That must be really important to you.
Yeah.
Help me understand that.
Right.
I mean, so why that comes up again and again and again.
Well, because we're women and we never forget anything.
But that's kind of invalidation too. No, there's something, below how to squeeze the toothpaste on the
Yeah.
surface. There's something that's really important there. So that's validation versus invalidation. Now, the cousin to all of this is criticism. Of course, criticism is where you're telling or you're being told why you don't measure up, why you're not good enough, why you don't make the bar, you're not making the standard. So for you guys, do you guys have invalidation? We already heard a little bit, and criticism in this marriage.
Before, that's what was in her mind. If I shut down or I withdraw, I'm telling her that she's not worth. She felt she had no value.
Yes, she felt invalid when you would withdraw.
Right.
Yeah.
And for me, I was like, I don't like. For me, this is where we were getting disconnected. I don't like things to escalate, because if I'm angry, it's better for me to withdraw, because you can't take it back once it's out. So
Yes. Yeah.
we would have that conflict where she would feel invalid, but I didn't want to explode.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm a race car in the red.
Yeah, and actually, the research shows that more men withdraw in marriage than women, because we men have LFT, low frustration tolerance, right? So we withdraw to try to get rid of escalation, try to avoid escalation, but that creates problems. And so we now have an alternative. That's the 5-minute timeout,
Right.
And
Yeah.
so you
That's
don't
a
have
good
to withdraw.
answer to it,
So
right.
where you go. For you, invalidation and criticism, do those exist in this marriage?
Criticism, I believe, not as severe as it was before,
Okay.
but I feel like he was very critical of me. Like I could never measure up for certain things. Like he would say,
I think I'm
because
helping
he
him.
has yes.
I think I'm helping you become a better person.
Right. He
Constructive
tells me
criticism.
Right, but she's like,
Right.
dude, I can't
I
do
need
anything
to-
right.
Right. He says I need to evolve.
Oh,
And so then I would
Quickly.
feel insulted.
Quickly.
Yes. And it's at his pace. Right. In his
3 minutes to evolve.
Yes, like you need to learn how to be an adult in 2 minutes and 36 seconds. Otherwise, I'm gonna be mad. It's like
Uh-huh.
that's unrealistic.
Uh-huh.
So you're just setting him up to fail. I felt like he was setting me up to fail a lot, and he would have these expectations on me, and like he said earlier, now I get the validation of working full time, being a student full time, being a mom. He recognizes how hard I work and what I do for this family. When before he was very critical of, you didn't clean the house, you
Are
didn't
you
vacuum,
kidding
why
me?
didn't
You don't
make
have
dinner? Why
anything
didn't you
made right now?
Yes.
You know I was going to be hungry when I got home.
So does criticism ever creep up again? If criticism,
It does, yeah,
if
it does.
criticism were going to creep up, what might be the next criticism? What might
What
happen?
are you most critical of me with, besides my driving? Please.
Yeah, that scares me. It's afraid.
I said besides my driving, not supposed to talk about it. I need a 5-minute timeout. Just kidding.
That's a tough one, because I find myself, I can be very critical, and it's a flaw.
I am positive and he's negative.
Should we talk about driving? Will he criticize your driving?
Immensely.
Oh, okay. All right.
Go ahead, dear.
So let's talk about criticism for just a minute, and we'll see if this may be another homework point for you guys. So we
I'm already
believe
stressed out.
that. What's that?
I'm already stressed out.
Okay. All right.
Come on.
Bring it down a little bit.
Bring it.
So we believe that a criticism is a request gone bad. We criticize because we want something. However, when we criticize, all we do is we put our mate on the defense, right?
Oh, I'm constantly on the defense.
They don't hear the they don't hear the request. That's
They hear
No.
what
It's
you're
not a
doing
request.
It's not a
you're telling
request.
me-
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a
Exactly.
criticism. So and this defensiveness breaks the emotional bridge all the more. So we get further and further and further apart.
Right.
I was talking with a couple the other day, and I was very happy that they start getting critical, they get sarcastic, and now they've started to say, "Do I hear a request brewing?"
Oh, that's the best.
Somewhere in here is a request.
Yes.
Oh, do I hear
We're both super sarcastic people,
Uh-huh,
so
okay.
if he'll be critical, and then I'll just be total smart aleck.
So let's write that one down for you. Do I hear a request brewing?
That totally it breaks the ice too. It makes it less intense, and I feel less attacked.
Yes, and
Because
so
you're not very gentle with his deliveries.
Yeah.
So it feels very like an attack.
Yeah.
You brake too late. Oh, you're like riding that guy. Hurry up and go faster. You're going too fast. And I'm like, because I'm not driving like him.
All right. So now here's another one for you. When you hear those, you're going to ask the question, "What would you like?"
Really?
Yeah. What would you like?
I would like him to drive, so then I don't have to hear all that.
Uh-huh. But that might be his.
But then
request.
he doesn't want to drive because I was driving for 3 hours today. I'm done driving.
Uh-huh.
Then zip it. If you want me to drive, zip it.
So you might say, "I have a request of you."
It works both ways. Okay, no problem.
All right. But let's talk about why do we make criticisms and just don't go right to requests? Well, a request starts with "Will you?" Will you? ... question mark. Will you? And that is a posture of vulnerability. It sets
That
us
other
up.
person has a choice.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're not getting. It's
you
not a
get-
guarantee you're going to get what you want.
Yeah. and you
Usually
can-
when people ask you for things, you're more inclined to want to do that.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Because there's times where I ask him, like, do you want to take the trash out? He's like, no, I don't want to take the trash out. Who wants to take the trash out? If you ask me to take the trash
I
out,
will do
I'll
it for you. But if you're asking me if I
If I
want to,
no, I don't want
So
to.
will you take the trash out?
yes,
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah. So when we say "will you" and we make a request, a polite request, we set ourselves up for possibly a big fat no.
Yeah.
It's vulnerable. We're taking some fig leaves off, so we're being vulnerable, and so it's much safer feeling in the short run to make a criticism. But as we're saying, it's very, very destructive. So
Yeah.
so every criticism is a request gone bad. Can we take the criticism and can we flip it around? So if you have a criticism in your mind, you want to say, I want to make it. I don't want it to come out of my mouth until it's a request. Think about it, pray about it until you can make a good, clear request. If you receive a criticism, rather than going defensive, you're going to say, "What would you like? Sounds like you're not happy with me. And we're looking for a good, concrete, observable, measurable type request. So, will you think about somebody for once in your life? You know, I mean, that's not a criticism.
Me being the other person?
Yeah, that's not a request. That's just a backhanded criticism,
it
right?
is.
You know, but will you take out the trash? Will you help me? Will you spend 20 minutes and help pick up the house before the guests come over? Right? Those are, and we also want to know the deep symbolic meaning that we've been talking about. So when you do help me for 20 minutes to pick up the house, this is what's on the surface, but underneath, I feel loved, I feel supported, I feel like there's teamwork, I feel like I have a voice. Those might be all core issues.
Totally.
I feel like, or it might be trust. I feel like you're responsive to me.
Yeah.
So these are all very powerful things. We also want to understand the very spiritual nature of making a request. You know, Jesus said, "You have not because you ask not," right? And Paul said, when you come to God, come with prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, bring your requests to God. So if this is a great way to come to God, it's probably a good way to approach each other as well too, right? Never says bring your criticisms to God. It says bring your requests to God. So this open posture will be really fantastic. So turning criticisms into requests, I'm going to give you a little bit of homework on that as well too. I'm just trying to think how we can make every. So the criticism will be
for my driving.
Yes, it will be you're driving wrong. You're driving too fast, too slow. You missed the turn lane. You missed the.
I don't do U-turns. You can only go to the gas station if it's on the right side. The side we're driving on, I can't cross the street to go to it. And I have all kinds of rules.
So they're your rules or his rules?
They're his rules.
His rules. All right. Yes, and so you're gonna say, "Hey, Danny, am I hearing a request? Is there a request in there? Is there?" So if he says, "Will you go to the gas station on the right?" Then you're gonna say, It has to be humanly possible.
Yeah.
Something that you're willing to
Right.
do. All right, it's
Yes.
got to be those two things for sure. If it's going to be a request, and then you're going to think about it and say, you know what, dear, I will. I'll give you.
Totally.
Thank you for
Yeah.
asking
And
nicely.
tones are important because it could
Tones,
also sound like
yes.
ready for. Well, what would you like?
Yeah. Tones and delivery are huge.
Because the way you said it, what would you like? It sounds totally different
Yeah.
from, well,
What do you want me to do?
Well, what would
Yeah,
you like?
right.
Yeah. So we often say make polite requests.
Yes.
Yes.
We make polite
Yes.
requests of each other.
Yeah, because he struggles a little bit with delivery sometimes, or even I think that I said something sweetly or nicely or as a request, and he's like, "Why are you like barking at me?" And I'm like, "I didn't." He's like, "You did." And there's times where I'm like, "Why are you yelling? I'm right here." And he's like, "I just told you, I didn't."
So that is his perception. We
Yeah.
need to talk about perception just a little bit.
Okay.
We will. One of the great healthy ground rules to create healthy families is the ground rule that says, and this goes for children as well, you can ask for anything you want as long as it's polite and respectful.
Oh,
If you
like
ask
that.
politely and respectfully, you can ask for any, and that means that there's no raised eyebrow or scowl because somebody asked for something. And the beautiful thing with this is that everybody, including your children, everybody has a voice.
Yeah.
Everybody has a voice. If you're not going to criticize and you're going to make requests, well then you need to let people make
Right.
requests.
Right.
So you can ask for anything you want as long as you're being polite and respectful in your
I like
request.
that.
So you guys good for that?
It's a good
Yeah.
blanket, like just as for the household, like that's
Yeah.
that's
Mhm.
really insightful. That's good because that way there's no room for tones and there's no room for misinterpretations
to
of
be
that.
full.
So you got these
yeah.
kids, and the kids
Respectful.
they start grunting instead of talking, or
Right.
they get really
Snappy,
harsh and
right,
snappy
yeah.
and all this kind of stuff, and say, so you're going to say to the kid, I'd like to hear your request. I'd like to
Right.
hear a polite request from you.
Yeah.
Ask politely for what you want right now, please.
Yeah.
Mom, will you, whatever it might be.
Take me to
Yeah, and then you
baseball
say,
practice.
thank you for asking
Yeah.
nicely. I'd be happy to do that, or we're not going to do that right now, but we can probably do that later tonight or on the weekend or something. Right?
That's really good.
Okay.
I like that. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So the power
That'll work
of the power of asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, really important. We said we were going to talk about perception.
Yes.
So our mate's perception is incredibly important.
Mhm.
And oftentimes what happens with mate's perception is we argue it.
Mhm.
What?
Are
You
you-
see it that? You like that? You think
Oh,
that?
boy.
Oh my gosh! I can't believe it, right? And so these are also invalidating kinds of things. So the little story I tell is if you go to the restaurant, the waitress now says, they didn't used to ask this, but now they say, does everything taste okay?
Mhm.
Why are they asking, does everything taste? I mean, like the owner would put bad tasting food
Hey,
on the
he said it all
menu
the time.
on purpose? I mean, that's
He
really-
says it all the time when people ask, like, "Oh, well, how is this?" No,
They're-
it
it's
tastes
terrible.
disgusting.
Don't order
We
it.
just threw it on there because
So they believe that all the food on their menu tastes great.
Right.
So why are they asking, does everything taste okay? Because they care about your perception.
yeah,
And if your perception is that it's bad tasting, then they want to give you an experience of making positive
What can I do to
experience.
fix
Right.
this?
Yes, can I get
situation?
you another plate of food?
Sure.
yeah,
I'm not here to argue. But imagine if the waitress said, you don't like these potatoes?
right.
Do you know that over 500 people have given 5-star reviews on that? I
Yeah.
mean, you'd be offended. I was
Right.
like, what?
Yes.
And they're lumpy, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So we want to do the same thing in marriage. We want to care greatly about our mate's perception, even though it may be radically different. A lot of times we want to get rid of debating and educating, debating history in particular. And this is what we have mental fencing. So we're arguing from the neck up. We got to get to the emotions if we're going to have an emotional relationship, if we're going to have a deep relationship. I'll tell you a little story real quick. I had a couple one time. I said, tell me about your typical evening. She says, he goes in the front room and watches Fox News. I said, what do you do? I go in the back and watch CNN.
Oh boy.
I said,
Oh, no.
I said, well, then what happens? Well, then we come out and talk. I said, you
Oh.
mean you debate?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, like one's a Republican, one's a Democrat. I said, how's that working for you? That's why we're here. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's all neck up, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's neck up. So we have to get neck down. So when we argue our mate's perception, it's neck up. Think about it. When's the last time, if it's ever happened, where you got your mate to think differently by debating them, by arguing with them? No, you just get further apart.
Right.
So we want to say, okay, so so your perception is that I'm yelling at you,
Yeah.
and that I'm raising my voice. It's not your perception, but it's her perception. Well, we care about her perception. So you might say to her, and to sort of counter it rather than debate it, we're going to give her a different experience. And seriously, no sarcasm. So you might say, so Ria, can I talk to you right now and not yell at you?
That'd be great.
And she says, that'd be great. And so, I mean, really, no sarcasm. It feels funny because it's a new behavior. It feels weird. So you come over, you maybe sit down, you hold her hands, you look into her eyes, and say, I have a request of you. Will you?
This is gonna be so weird. It's gonna be like a whole new husband.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna know what to do. Because I'm used to like having to be witty because he's so sarcastic. So I'm like, I gotta like think of my things to say before, because I know he's just gonna throw it at me.
Yeah, and I care about your perception, and I don't want you to feel like you're getting yelled at by me. That's why I'm talking softly. I'm sitting down.
Don't do that face.
Why are you yelling?
That is the
I'm not
worst
yelling.
face.
Why did your volume go up? And then
Because you have to
see
hear
these two
me.
things on the side of my
Cold
head?
ears.
They're ears.
Yes,
I can hear you.
They're made for hearing. I
So
know.
you
Yes, dear.
increasing the volume is not necessary right now. I'm not yelling.
So somewhere in there, you might call a 5-minute timeout.
Yeah.
that might
no.
work. That might work. But then you want to come to her and see if you can give her an experience of you not yelling at her. Give her the experience. So, and you can even ask, hey, Rio, do you feel like I just talked to you in a normal voice and I didn't yell at you? And when she says yes, you go, well, good. And with that, we got rid of always and nevers, right? You know,
You're right.
a lot of times
You're
couples
always
say,
this,
you're
you
always
never do
doing this,
this.
you're never doing that.
Yeah.
So we want to break the back of that.
And we can make it fun. Super Bowl Sundays tomorrow. I'll have like these little yellow
You
flags
throw
with a
flags
5
out?
on it, and I'll just throw it.
You can't.
There's a flag on the play.
No.
5
that's
minutes.
cheating.
There's
You
a
have to
5-minute
say
flag.
the words. You have to say the words.
5-minute
You
flag.
can't- Oh, that's not 5 minutes
5 minutes
time out. You're cheating.
So one more story real quick. I had a couple, they'd been married for 50 years.
Oh, wow.
And they would come
We
home
can do
every
it.
night and they would argue for a couple hours or more, you know. And I said, wow.
Why?
So that's, man, about all this stuff. And so one time she said to me, for 50 years,
Oh no.
he has never listened to me. I said, wow, okay, 50
Dang.
years.
That's
So
a
I pulled
long
out
time.
speaker listener, which is an active way of listening, and you got to give bullseyes when they get it right. So, man, he's getting bullseyes left and right. And
Oh.
he's
he's
hearing her.
been
Yeah.
listening.
And so I said to her, so, did your husband just listen to you? Bottom lip goes out.
'Cause-
Long
yeah.
pause. Yes. I go, great. So on this day,
Yes, you
You
can never,
listen.
you can't say
you
never.
cannot say
Yeah.
that your
You
husband
can't say
never
never.
We got progress.
Yeah.
I hated losing that turf. You
Right.
know, that, I had all that justification for resentment. It all went out the window. So this is an example of creating experience that changes the perception
Yeah.
of your mate.
Yeah. And it leaves room to be, like you said, like less critical.
Mm-hmm.
To where when you're making requests and you're actually listening and you take that time to, like, hey, can you maybe not break so hard?
Uh-huh.
Like, be like, oh, yeah.
And so you just I'm a coach. So can you? He can't.
Oh,
You're
will
going to
you?
say, will you?
Yeah.
Would you?
Will you?
Will you?
Yeah,
Oh,
because
would- would
yeah,
you?
sure, I could.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't mean I will.
Because he could be
Yeah.
sarcastic. He
Right.
might throw that
I know
at
you will. Yes. Yeah.
So,
He
yes.
has it holstered.
Yeah. So this is another homework for you guys. It'd be wonderful for you to write down the criticisms that you that were in your mind, right? That would be fun to hear that if you guys could do
Get
that.
my driving and music.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So you write down the criticism that you were going to say or that you did say, and then
Would you
flip it
put
into
something on that we can both enjoy?
yeah.
Will you?
Yeah.
Will
Will
you?
you?
Yeah.
Will you be open to changing the channel right now?
Instead of getting in and be like, I hate this song. This is gym music. What the heck are you listening to? Yeah.
I'm a
If
musician.
he said, will you
so,
will you consider and will you change the channel of the music right now?
Yeah.
You would say,
I don't know.
well, you,
I'm driving
Well-
and it's my car. I just can listen to what I want to listen to.
Mhm.
You're driving and your car. You can listen to what you want to listen to.
so you could say to him, I'm going to give you a no right now to your request, and I'm wondering if we could have a ground rule in our marriage. And that is when I drive, I listen to my music and my say, and when you drive, and of course all together, and you listen to your music, and we don't criticize each other's music.
I'm more apt to just changing when listening to what he wants to listen to. Like I said, I'm the one to say I'm wrong. You're right.
He's
I'm
giving
sorry.
you options.
Yeah, but I do have options.
Then your
Yeah.
answer would be yes. He says,
Okay.
will you change the channel? Right? And you
So
go,
I can either
yes.
make rules or I can just
Yeah.
oblige.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So there's invalidation and criticism. We need to talk a little bit more about validation.
Okay.
Let's. So we're changing criticisms into requests. That's you guys are going to work on that.
Okay.
For your homework, to recap, you guys are going to call the 5-minute timeout. I got the rules right here.
Okay.
So I'd love for you to read through these together.
Yes.
So and maybe even a couple of times, so they're really in your mind
Ingrained,
really well.
yeah.
And the first page has to do with escalation, and we got all kinds of Proverbs and James and one of my favorite Proverbs. Actually, it's not on this one here, but Proverbs 25:15 through patience a.
Can you write it on there? So
Sure, yeah. Through patience, Proverbs 25:15. Through patience, a king, maybe a queen, can be persuaded, and a gentle tongue can break a bone. A
I
gentle
like
tongue
that.
can break a bone.
That's
So-
super powerful.
So when it comes to escalation, there's more power in your whisper than
Yeah.
any amount of volume that
Yes.
you can create.
He says that to me sometimes
Yes,
too. To
yes.
where I'll hear you more if you're talking to me.
Mhm.
Like you say, like to your kids, if they're not listening to you, start whispering. They're gonna listen like that.
So I'll tell you one more little story here. I had a lady, and she was on the phone, and I think it was a 10-year-old that was in the other room, and she's trying to talk to me and yell at her child at the same time, and it was about the TV. I said, "Hey, you want to try something new? Let's try something new."
Uh-huh.
In a moment, I want you to put the phone down. I want you to walk into the other room where your son is. I want you to get down on one knee and get like
close.
6 inches from
Yeah.
his nose, and I want you to say to him, that was Johnny turn off
Yeah.
the TV.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was just really inaudible
Right.
at the very end of it. And so she goes, it's kind of quiet. She comes back, and I said, well, what happened? She says, he turned the TV right off. I think I freaked him out. Because she was a yeller. I mean,
Right.
she would just yell all the time.
Yeah.
And here she went, and she got real into space, got
Yeah.
really close.
Over time, the child maybe
They just tune you out.
her
Yeah,
out.
they're,
Yeah.
You're,
Well, yeah, you're just a yelling entity from
Right.
the other
Right.
room.
All
If,
the
if you
time.
don't get it,
Right.
you don't get it.
Who are you
big-
yelling at? Him or
Yeah.
me or the dog?
For kids, we use the 2-minute timeout. Maybe we'll talk about that next time as well too. We raised our children on the 2-minute timeout, which is really
And
fun.
we did timeouts.
So let's just kind of recap. We're gonna do the 5-minute timeout. We're
Yes.
gonna have you guys do that. You're going to change criticisms to requests, and I'd love for you to write out some criticisms that you were tempted to say,
Okay.
and make them in requests. They're going to start with "Will you?"
Really.
And I've got a little handout for you on that as well. And
And you can use those requests on anything, right? Like, will you give me more kisses when you come home from work?
yes, now we also want them to be concrete. So will you give me more kisses when you come home? So I know it sounds it's really super mechanical, but will you give me at least 5 kisses when you come home from
Okay,
work?
okay.
Yeah,
Will,
so-
will you give me one kiss when you come in the house?
Yeah.
Will you? Okay. That makes sense.
It's a very, very common request.
Excuse me.
When you come home, will you come and find me and greet me?
Yeah.
And before you leave the house, will you find me and say goodbye? It's really, really common.
Right.
You don't feel very connected if somebody just
So
leaves
true.
or so. You've been
So
home
true.
for an hour and
Right.
you-
You say
yes.
they acknowledge me. He does that too. Our son's really good at that. As soon as he comes to the garage door, Logan
can
is
hear from
immediately,
upstairs.
"Hi, Daddy!" Immediately.
Yeah.
Even me coming right to the front door, "Hi, Mom!" And it just makes you feel welcome and like you're
Yeah.
glad
He's good
that
at that.
somebody's home. He's really good at that.
All right, so 5-minute timeout. We got the changing criticism. You're going to make lots of requests of each other. You're going to have some. You're going to say some wedding vow stuff. You're going to improvise on your wedding vow. I had one guy. I've had several actually, but he did a Google search on wedding vows. He read all the Christian, Judea, Ethica, and then he went to other places of the world, and he really beefed up his wedding vow
Yeah.
type stuff language. and it was very powerful.
It's almost like a challenge. Like, how many different kind of wedding vows can you do?
Yeah, and you can just rob and steal it, and it's okay for him to read. I mean, you don't have to memorize all of it. So here, I read some, and I highlighted some. Here's some that I really like, and you're going to talk with Danny about appreciation, and you're going to give that to him again and again and again. And so, another thing that I want to say with all of this is that when we talk the matters of the heart from the neck down, a lot of this has to do with reassurance. We reassure the heart, we reassure the spirit, and reassurance is repetitive. If you're going to say, hey, how many times are you going to say to your child, I love you? Well, countless times.
Right.
Well, why? Because they don't remember? No, they remember it.
Yeah.
So why do you keep saying it? Well, because it's a fragile world.
Right.
And we're speaking to the heart, so we're going to say these things over and over. Why would you say your wedding vow stuff, your improvisation, why would you do it more than once? And I really did have a couple one time where the guy said, she ought to know I love her. I told her 25 years ago at the wedding. It's like, take the spear out. Oh my gosh.
There's really, people do
Ouch.
say that, like, he knows I love him. I'm not going to tell him all the time. It still feels good to hear.
It feels good. Yes,
Yeah.
it is a neck down kind of thing. So I just want you guys to have permission to make many requests, to make lots of appreciation, to give lots of reassurance with wedding vow stuff over and over again, to do lots of 5-minute timeouts. All right?
Yeah. That sounds good. I'm excited.
All right, you got
It'll be good.
You got some great
Some good
homework.
homework. Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
Start working.
Wonderful.
Thank you.